And welcome back to the Scarlet to the Land podcast. I'm your host, Cody Croy, of course, joined by Big Jake. How you doing?
Good. How you doing today?
Doing well. Well, we got to get into the Ohio State schedule. I was, talking to Jake earlier this week, trying to find a topic, Ohio State related, and I actually was surprised that we hadn't gone over the schedule yet. I know we did the Browns a couple of weeks ago, so excited to get into the Ohio State schedule. I'm a little more optimistic in Ohio State than I am the Browns. So this will be a bit more happy of an episode as we go through the schedule. Any thoughts before we get started?
Oh, I'm with you 100% when it comes to, I'm a lot more optimistic when it comes to Ohio State. They keep me sane. So I'm with you 100%. It's a lot funner to do these kind of videos and talk about the Buckeyes because we have so much hope for them every single year. And then, we'll dwell and cry about things on Sundays. So I'm with you. I don't think this is a year where you can just pencil in 12-0. I do think we do have some tough games, but I think we're in for a very good season this year.
Taking a look at week 1, Ohio State against Ball State. Obviously, that's a game that Ohio State is expected to win. And of course, I'm going to give them the win here. They're going to have to, come out and do the little things right. And, just come out and go get a victory. Should be no problem for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, I think it's exactly what you want for week 1. You're replacing some veterans, breaking in some new starters, and getting guys comfortable before heading into, one of the toughest road environments in all of college football the following week. So no surprises with me. I think they do win comfortably. And the one thing I do want to bring up, there's a video, I'm not sure if you've seen it, of that kid from Ball State, and he's lifting weights, and you hear the dude telling him, "You got Jeremiah Smith week 1."
I did see that. I did see that.
Yeah, that's a fantastic video because that kid looks like he is literally like a Judy. He doesn't got any muscle, not bad. I was just like, yeah, Jeremiah's putting up 200 week 1.
And I do love the fact that Ball State, they're not overly cocky. They're cracking jokes like they know, and I think I think that's awesome when you can be a good sport. And so I'm excited for this matchup, and I think that it's going to be pretty fun for both teams. So looking forward to week 2, they go on the road and go against Texas, against Arch Manning. Arch, that's a guy that we've expected this leap from him, and he just has not looked the part like the very hyped up prospect that he once was. And so I think if he doesn't take that leap this year, I'm pretty confident in penciling in a win for Ohio State.
Yeah, for me, this is where the season truly begins for Ohio State. I think this game does tell us a lot early on about both teams, as it kind of did last year. When you watch that Ohio State-Texas game, the score was a lot closer than I feel like a lot of people thought it should have been. 14-7, Arch threw that touchdown late to just cut it to a 7-point victory for Ohio State. So I do think this is going to be another game to where we really get an in-depth look at both of these rosters. And, I think Arch Manning obviously will receive all the attention nationally. I think the front against this Texas offensive line, the defensive line, if Larry Johnson's group can consistently pressure Arch without having to blitz all night, I think that's going to change the game tremendously. Both young quarterbacks that have shown that they don't really like that interior pressure. So, yeah, if Ohio State can collapse the pocket, I think they're going to force mistakes. And I do think our offensive line is going to prove a lot of people wrong this year. The one thing for me in this game, I want to see Arthur be aggressive with his offense.
Right. Yes.
I don't think you can just walk into Austin in that kind of environment at night and try to survive, kind of like how that game plan was last year. But with all this being said, I think Ryan Day has proved himself as one of the best big game coaches in all of college football. He's won these types of games numerous times now, and I do believe that we walk into Austin and leave with a statement victory.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you mentioned, you can't be scared this year. You can't, leave stuff on the table this early in the season. I know that Ryan Day, he mentioned that, they were going to start off small and then build their way up throughout the season. We never really got there. And so Ohio State, they need to ramp it up in the very beginning, because you can't come off of a win against Ball State and then get caught lacking against Texas. That can't happen. So, but even then, I'm going to give Ohio State the win. Moving on to week 3 against Kent State. Again, another matchup that Ohio State should have no problem with. An in-state matchup with Kent State, and I'm going to give Ohio State the win.
Coming off such an emotional game, I think this game is all about just staying focused, going out there, getting reps, avoiding injuries, and I think they handle business extremely easily in this game.
Moving on to Illinois, a Big Ten matchup, and Illinois, they've gotten some praise the last few years, and there's been this talk like they're going to get over the hump and they're going to be, they're going to turn the corner and become this good team, and they really haven't, in my opinion. And I think Ohio State, again, there's not going to be any problem for the Buckeyes in this one, so I'm going to give Ohio State the win. I think Coach Brett Bielema, he's a good coach, but Ohio State should not have a problem with Illinois.
Yeah, I think Illinois will be solid to their standards. I have seen improvement. Brett has definitely put out physical football teams. That's kind of how they make their living. They're always physical. They grind, to try to stay in the games and then shock you. I think a big part of this game, though, is that it is in Columbus. And I just think Ohio State has way too much speed and just too much talent overall. And I see probably a 4-score victory in this one.
Sure. Another Big Ten matchup going up against Iowa. I think this will be a good football game. I really do. I think that, Iowa, they're a gritty football team. And so Ohio State, they can't get caught sleeping at the wheel here. And I'm still going to give them the win. I'm confident in my Buckeyes. But this could be, a 2-3 score game. I think that it's going to be much closer than some people might anticipate.
Yeah, and I agree with you. It always makes me nervous because it's in Kinnick. We've seen, numerous top 5 teams walk in there and leave, wondering what happened, and the key for Ohio State, I feel like the majority of the time is starting fast. And, Iowa thrives when they can shorten the game and force punts, win field position. They play ugly football. I'll just say what it is. It's ugly football. It's not fantastic to watch unless like you're a diehard football fan, which I kind of am. So I actually enjoy watching their defensive pressure. But the problem with Iowa, they don't have the offense, with Matt Patricia there now. I don't think you're going to see broken plays. I think Ohio State is going to be up for that battle defensively. But I do think, like you said, this might be a very low scoring game. They might be able to cause some pressure, which might, rattle Julian a little bit. I'll just throw out a number out there. I could see this game being like a 21-7, 21-10 type victory for Ohio State.
Yes.
And, I think it's going to be closer than what fans would like. But I think Ohio State escapes here with a win, and that's going to be huge because I do believe Iowa is a good football team.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's just a team that you cannot get caught, lacking against. Again, they're not a team that you should lose to, but you absolutely could, and you cannot just take that for granted. Moving on, we have Maryland. Again, should not be a problem for Ohio State. Another Big Ten matchup. I'm going to give Ohio State the win, but again, you cannot get caught sleeping at the wheel.
Agreed. Yeah. Maryland's one of those teams that it's weird. Like some weeks against good competition, they look like they don't belong at all, which you would kind of just expect. And then other weeks, they put together a great game plan and they can hang in there with, some big teams in the Big Ten. But I think coming off this Iowa game, I think, that's going to be a closer ball game. And I actually expect Ohio State's offense to have a huge day here, especially, being in the shoe. And I have the Buckeyes rolling for a big victory here.
This is a game that could win by 40 plus, or they could, win by 2 touchdowns. You don't know. But yeah, Ohio State should not have a problem here. Here's where things get interesting. The bulk of the schedule, the part of the schedule that everybody is talking about, Ohio State, they go on the road against the defending national champions, Indiana Hoosiers. Ohio State, they lost in the Big Ten championship to the eventual national champions. Curt Cignetti, he's a guy that he's shown that no matter what amount of talent he has, he can win, and he is a winner, and he is a guy that it would not surprise me if he gets this team to be just as good as they were last year. But I'm still going to give Ohio State the win. That being said, yes, they have different players. Yes, they lost a lot of maturity and age, but this is still a very good football team.
Yeah, Cignetti has completely changed all expectations at Indiana. I mean, this is the defending national champions. You have to travel, and play them in their house, which is a tough environment, as we've seen since they've, gotten better. It's not an easy place just to go in there and handle business anymore. You said you wouldn't be shocked if they put like a season together like they did last year. I would be completely shocked if they did. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this could be a college football playoff team. But if they were to go out there and win the championship and go 16-0 again, I would be completely flabbergasted by that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying even just like national champions, but I do expect them to make the playoffs. I think that they could go and make a run at it, but
Yeah.
Are they going to be as dominant as they were last year? No, not necessarily. But I do think that they could have a good season.
I do expect us to win this game, though, because I think our depth is going to show over 4 quarters. I just think we're a more complete football team this year.
Absolutely. I want to get your thoughts on Josh Hoover, TCU transfer. Admittedly, he is a guy that I have not done a ton of research on, but just your thoughts on him as we go and take on Indiana.
He was a tough quarterback at TCU. I can't sit here and tell you I watch TCU religiously. I don't know if he's ready for the type of like going on to a defending national championship team. The expectation, regardless if this is Indiana, if this just happened overnight, which it kind of has with Cignetti. I mean, they're here now.
Right.
So this is big shoes to fill. You had Mendoza come in last year, which Mendoza was a ticket coming in. Like, I was a big fan. A lot of guys were already predicting him as the possible number one pick. So I felt like Mendoza, talent wise, he was there. Hoover, he can move a little bit. I think he can create a little bit with his legs. I'm not really worried about the pass. And they lost a lot of great skilled players on the outside. So I'm not actually too familiar with who. I mean, you have Charlie. He's going to be their best receiver this year. I'm a big fan of him. But, I think our secondary will be ready for that challenge. And I feel like if they are going to make a lot of noise on offense against this defense, it's going to be with Hoover's legs. And I don't know how much of a believer I am in his legs to really threaten Ohio State in this game.
Omar Cooper, Elijah Surratt, among others, lost to the NFL draft this year for the Indiana Hoosiers. Obviously, again, national champions, but we both have Ohio State taking the win here. Moving on to USC, Ohio State at USC in California. Lincoln Riley, he has been one of the better coaches in college football, has done great things with guys like Caleb Williams. That being said, I still expect Ohio State to take the win here. I don't see USC being a problem.
Yeah, and I do want to mention before I start with my prediction on this game, I think getting that bye week after Indiana it's huge for us. It gives us a chance to reset after, going into Indiana and playing a tough football game. And I think the biggest key to this game overall is limiting the explosive plays defensively, because like Lincoln Riley is going to try to stress you out and just go vertically all game, and they have the talent to do that. And I just think Ohio State cannot let this game become a shootout. Our defense needs to be ready. I have no concerns at all about their defense. I think our offense will cook. So defense has to show up, and I think they will, especially getting that bye week. And I think they'll win by 2 scores at least in this game.
I agree. Moving on to Oregon. This will be an interesting one. Ohio State, they have had some problems against Oregon in the regular season. That has been a theme over the past couple of seasons. But I'm still going to give Ohio State the win here. Should not be a problem for Ohio State, but again, could be a team that could give Ohio State some fits.
Yeah, this is the game, I've went back and forth about the most. I just think Oregon is going to be probably the most complete teams in all of college football this year. I think Ohio State, don't get me wrong, I think they can win this game, and I think they could show that they're the most complete, team in all of college football. For Ohio State offensively in this game, protecting the football will be absolutely everything. You
Yeah.
just can't give Oregon in this talented offense short fields because they're going to end up making you pay for that. I think every great team in college football on any given Saturday, you know, can win games, but I also think they can lose games against great other opponents when things don't bounce their way. And unfortunately, I think that will be the case in this game. And I am going to say this will be Ohio State's first loss.
That's going to be a heck of a matchup, and until we get there, we really don't know. And obviously, it's going to depend on what they look like going into this matchup. But as of right now, at this very moment, I am confident. But I see where you're coming from with giving Ohio State this loss. Moving on, we have Northwestern. Again, should not be a problem for the Buckeyes. Chip Kelly, that's an interesting addition for Northwestern, a guy that he knows Ryan Day very well. So, that maybe could be an advantage for Northwestern. But again, Ohio State should not have a problem against this team.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my uncle Max. He actually went to Northwestern. He's a
Awesome.
Wildcat guy.
I had a cousin that went to Northwestern.
Northwestern.
So shout out Daniel.
I love it. Love it. Go Wildcats unless you're playing Ohio State. I think, for me, predicting that Ohio State will lose this game against Oregon, the week prior, I think this is where they'll prove to everybody this is a championship caliber team like Ohio State will come out and respond. I actually like the trajectory of Northwestern right now. I think they might be a lot better than some people would probably expect them to be this year. And I think Ohio State will come out and absolutely dominate this game and make it ugly.
Northwestern recently picked up a quarterback commitment in R.J. Day.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
forgot about that.
Of course, son of Ryan Day, St. Francis de Sales product. Really talented guy, really intelligent person and player. Really excited to see what he can do in a Northwestern uniform alongside a guy that Ryan Day has considered to be a mentor in Chip Kelly. Really excited to see how that will go for RJ Day. Moving on, we have Nebraska. This will be a really interesting matchup. They did lose Dylan Raiola to the transfer portal. He will spend a year at Oregon backing up Dante Moore before becoming the starter. Your take on this matchup and what talent they're going to have to replace in addition to the talent they have on this roster?
Yeah, I think them losing Dylan it's a blow. A lot of people beat him up for the whole Patrick Mahomes style, and he does kind of seem that he tries to be Patrick Mahomes. It's kind of weird, but I think losing him is huge because I do think he actually is a really good quarterback. That being said, with Rule being at Nebraska, I feel like he hasn't really gotten them to where you would expect him to have them by now.
Yes.
But, it's not easy to play at Nebraska, and we are in their house, So I think the atmosphere itself is one of the best in the country, especially when you're in late November. They're probably going to be fighting for something. Who knows? They could be fighting still for a college football playoff spot. I won't say I expect that, but you just never know how these teams. And Matt Rule is a good coach. I just feel like defensively, they would have to cause us to make self-inflicted mistakes to beat us. And I just don't think Nebraska has that kind of momentum on the defense. We've had some issues with our special teams over the years, but I think we will see an improvement there. I think we are just simply a better football team. And I think they go in there and they handle business.
Yes, should not be a problem for the Buckeyes. Again, this is a Big Ten matchup. Could be a team that gives us fits. They're, in my opinion, they're well coached. And I think that, this is a game that the Buckeyes should not lose, but you got to go and go out there and play the game. We have the big one, the game that, everybody anticipates. We have the game, the best rivalry in college football. There's a new coach at the helm in Kyle Whittingham. And despite them having a new coach, the program is still as rotten and as embarrassing as ever, as we've seen here in the last couple of weeks with the stepping down athletic director Ward Manuel. I'm going to give Ohio State the win here, but this is a team that they're either going to be really good or really bad. Bryce Underwood at quarterback, he's a guy that obviously really, really hyped up, but he did not have the year that he was supposed to as a true freshman. So there's going to be a lot riding on him, and it's going to be dependent on him and Kyle Whittingham at head coach.
Yeah, I would like to say the word scum and just capitalize UM for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, these guys, I will say this about this game. I don't care what the record is. I do think they're going to suck because I think Bryce Underwood is horrible. And you know what? I'm going to throw a bold prediction out there. I don't think Bryce Underwood will be starting in this game.
Wow.
I do not think Bryce Underwood will even be starting in this game. I'm going to take what we've been hearing about how bad he's looked in the offseason. But overall, like I said, I just think Ohio State's a better team. It always comes down to who will win the line of scrimmage. Michigan, it seems like they refuse to try to do anything in the modern game of football. Like they want to beat you up physically.
Right.
You have a bunch of Michigan fans. Oh, like Marshall was hurt. It's like, yeah, when you run these guys into the ground, like you might want to try to start running a spread and passing the ball a little more. But when you got Bryce Underwood out there, what do you expect? So
they live and die with a style of football that is more or less outdated. And I think, it can work. It can be successful, but they live and die by it. And that's what got them last year. Again, you're looking at Bryce Underwood. You're looking at what they can do in the running game, and you're looking at their offensive line. Michigan offensive line has been fantastic for the past several years. So you're going to have to, watch out for that. But I have no problem giving Ohio State the win here.
Yeah, I think, business is back to usual in this rivalry. As much as they don't want to admit, what they did to get the upper hand. And, a lot of that comes with a mental thing that Ohio State had to finally get over as well. I think last year they went in, they proved, I think they could have won that game by a lot more, honestly. We started pretty slow, if you ask me, but yeah, I think they're going to come in and I think they're going to dominate in the shoe. This will be Jeremiah Smith. Unfortunately, we all know this will be his last game, regular season game in the shoe. I don't really expect us to lose more than one game this year, so I don't think, we'll be having a home game here either in the playoffs. So I look at this as his last game in the shoe, and I expect him to have a huge day in this game.
And hopefully with that game, he can break all of the records that he is supposed to break, and hopefully he can earn the Biletnikoff. He's been snubbed the last 2 years.
2 years.
To Travis Hunter, and I think it was Mekhi Lemon.
Yep, it was Lemon last year.
So hope he can get that revenge. Hope that he can, beat Michigan, and hopefully Ryan Day can pick up another win against Michigan. So have Ohio State undefeated. You have Ohio State losing to Oregon in the regular season. And if we meet them again in the playoffs, hopefully it goes just as well as it did in 2024.
Yeah, and for me, like with that loss to Oregon that I, have on my prediction, if we did see them in the playoffs, I think we would win that game. Until Dan Lanning proves that he can go out there and win big games, in the playoffs. It doesn't worry me until I see them do it. I felt last year was a good chance for them to do that, and Indiana just absolutely bashed them. So we'll see.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to the Scarlet to the Land podcast. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.